Morning, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Abuzakuk. I messed up the date. I came last year for the talk. Uh, so I would like to thank Dr. Abuzakuk and Novartis for giving me this opportunity and Pearl for organizing this. This is our first master class, and the objective is to deep dive into chronic urticaria. The topic assigned to me is etiopathogenesis, and never an urticaria talk is complete without remembering the guys who initiated this: Alan Kaplan, who's the guru of chronic urticaria in US, Marcus Murer's group in Germany. They've done a lot. So I've started as a disciple of Alan Kaplan, and now moving towards Marcus Murer's approach. So the objective of my talk is to discuss. So the objective of my talk is to review the pathophysiology and then understand what is the current consensus approach in terms of the key pathogenic factors, and then what is the role of the autoimmunity in the chronic spontaneous urticaria. So in the interest of time, I'll move a little quickly. If any questions, we can discuss in that. So pathophysiology of urticaria, if you want to understand, we need to know about what exactly is happening in the skin from a basic standpoint, and then look at it. So it's a wheel flare reaction. So in the the erythema, you're going to have two factors playing big role. There is an axon reflux, which is the flare, and there is a wheel reflux. Okay? There's a wheel because of the mediator-induced vasodilation. So basically, the mediator causes predominantly the histamine, which vasodilates and gives you a wheel in the urticaria which you're seeing, and the axonal reflux gives you the erythema. So these are the two main key aspects happening here. If you look at the pathophysiology of the wheel, so it's the mediator-induced vasodilation and formation of the gaps via stimulation of endothelial cell receptors and increased permeability, okay, of the cutaneous capillaries and postcapillary venules. So if you're looking from a microscopic standpoint, this is what is happening there. You're having vasodilation and you're having gap in the endothelial cells and you're having fluid come out, okay? And the persistence depends on two things, okay? The time course of the mediator action, because you might have seen urticaria lasting 1 hour, few minutes, 24 hours, sometimes even longer. So what actually determines that persistence of the wheel? It is the mediator effect and the rate at which the extravasation happens with the fluid, okay? So these two will determine the duration of the wheel or the duration of the urticarial lesion present there. So what are the key mediators which are playing role? Histamine. However, you have to understand this is a mast cell disease. A lot of the things which we're seeing in the allergy immunology world are more eosinophil driven, whereas this is purely mast cell driven process. So mast cell, as you remember from our basic immunological, along with histamine, it produces a lot of prostaglandins as well, prostaglandin E2, prostaglandin D2, bradykinin, leukotriene C4, D4, E4, and platelet activating factor. However, the key mediator which dominates in this mast cell driven mediator induced wheel response is the histamine. As I told you, it is not only the onset of the wheel and flare, but the duration as well. So the duration of how long it lasts, because we have huge phenotypic variability in terms of how long the urticarial lesions last. That depends on the prostaglandins there, prostaglandin G2, D2, and I2, okay? And then mediators enhancing the urticarial responses, proteases, they increase the vascular permeability. So some patients have smaller lesions, some patients have bigger lesions, okay? So that's where the protease activity happens. Chemotactic factors, so we are calling urticaria as a mast cell driven disease. But when you're looking at biopsy, what are you looking for? You're looking for the rare eosinophils. The reason is there is a eotaxin signal there which brings the eosinophil. But that doesn't play a big role in this disease, okay? And the cytokines, yeah. So we saw that the urticarial lesion has two components, the wheel response and the flare response. The flare is the erythema happening because of the axonal response. And the wheel is happening because of the mediator release. And the key mediator which plays role is the histamine. And there are other mediators which help the urticarial lesion last long. And that's what we saw now. Okay. So if you look at now the itching aspect, we are always traditionally thinking, okay, the itch is because of the histamine activating the type C slow conducting nerve fibers. These are the same fibers which take your pain sensation. So traditional teaching is in the allergy and immunology fellowship curriculum is itch is happening because of activation of these type C slow conducting nerve fibers. But in the arterial itch, there are so many other things which are going to play a role as well. You have your you have your keratinocytes. So directly skin mediators are also coming. So from the skin also you're having the NGF and other factors being released. And predominantly mast cell release, of course, we are very familiar with histamine, leukotrienes, prostaglandins, which are activating factor, tryptases and proteases. And we have little degree of NGF coming from the eosinophil because the mast cell mediator will track little bit of eosinophils into the site. That's what you're seeing in the biopsy, but they don't play any big role here. And we have T cell release of IL-31. If you remember our atopic dermatitis, the predominant itch cytokine there is IL-31. So in the urticaria as well, there is a little bit of IL-31 coming. So these are so many factors here, playing in the pathogenesis of the itch in urticaria. Okay, in the atopic derm, it's very classic clear for us. Okay, this is type C fiber activation, and there's IL-31 which is dominating. Whereas if you see the itch in the urticaria, it's very heterogeneous. You have factors coming from the skin cells, you have factors coming from the mast cells, and the local T cells, predominantly CD4, CD8 actually also has role there, okay? And the little bit of eosinophil-induced NGF. So these all determine the itch of the patient with urticaria. So it is not one factor alone. So oftentimes the traditional teaching is, this is type C slow conducting fiber activation causing the itching, but there are so many factors. That's why some patients, again, as I told you, the wheel flare response and itching is highly variable. It's a heterogeneous phenotypic presentations. You have patients with milder phenotype, moderate phenotype, and severe phenotype. And why is this happening? If you understand, the pathogenesis, then you understand, okay, in this patient, okay, these are the dominant things happening, okay? There are keratinocyte factors, there are mast cell factors, there are eosinophil and T cell factors. Yes, of course, the predominant factor is the histamine, but these are also playing. So, I mean, this is very easy. So I guess you guys are all familiar with the mast cell mediated activation. The activated mast cells, will release histamine, proteases, leukotrienes, prostaglandins, and there is activation of the type C fiber, which I mentioned. And I also mentioned that there are other factors which are coming from the keratinocytes, okay? So they also activate the type C fiber, and that causes the itch sensation. So these type C fibers are slow conducting nerve fibers, okay, and they are also the same fibers which transmit pain, okay. Yeah, the reason why I'm emphasizing on this is in future you will see a lot of the topical preparations in the next 5 years which are going to target these receptors. Capsaicin and other mediators over the last 5 years have been extensively studied to control this. Yeah. So future topical pain medications or itch control medications are going to target these pathways. So key pathogenic factors for chronic spontaneous urticaria, histamine releasing activity of the mast cell is the predominant. However, there are the neuropeptides from the mast cells which are also going to play a role. The delayed mediators of the mast cell, which are the prostaglandins and leukotrienes, which are going to play a role. And the inflammatory cells, which are going to come because of the mast cell mediators, the basophils and little bit of eosinophils are also going to play a role. So the key role in the urticaria pathogenesis is of the mast cell. And the main mediator is histamine, but there are other mediators as well, which are going to come to the site and which are going to play a role in the persistence of the lesion, the severity, and then also the other factors, okay? So we need to, when we are looking at master classes, we need to know about in depth, okay, it's not only histamine, there are other factors which are going to come here. Neuropeptides, especially substance P. And the reason why I'm going to emphasize on this is there will be urticaria patients who will be sometimes presenting you with paresthesia. So you're wondering, this is a itch disease, why there is paresthesia in these patients. And sometimes my elite dermatology colleagues, they want to do biopsy because the lesion is little longer lasting and there is paresthesia and there's a suspicion of vasculitis. However, the mast cell substance P can also cause paresthesia there, okay? Whereas the difference between these lesions here is that the arterial, lesion with the paresthesia and the substance P induction is going to be complete resolution. That means the lesion will go away, skin is back to normal, whereas in vasculitis, it doesn't happen. So yes, there are sometimes phenotypes where there will be pruritus there will be paresthesia as well. And when the paresthesia is there, you should think in the mind, okay, this is another mediator coming and causing this, but this is typically chronic spontaneous urticaria. And basophils have a little bit of role as well. Of course, this is a landmark slide, which actually is going to be, I guess, present in all our talks. The activation of the mast cell, the non-immunogenic pathways, opioids, neuropeptides, cytokines, and again, this is the C5a anaphylaxis. So in anaphylaxis, we have major C5a mediated activation, and of course, opioids, especially anesthesia, morphine derivatives, and sometimes neuropeptides and other cytokines. But predominantly, when we're looking at chronic spontaneous urticaria, we're going to focus on the right side. Typically, we are going to see acute urticaria in the allergenic response, whereas when you're talking about chronic urticaria, you're going to call it as an autoallergen. It is the serum protein, okay, and then there are other autoantibodies which are going to play a role. So we're going to focus mainly on this side. So mast cell activation in terms of the chronic spontaneous urticaria, the mast cell activation can happen in different ways, okay? So we are going to have 3 or 4 different approaches in which the mast cell is going to get activated. One is the autoantibody, same like the antigen, the autoantibody directly activating the Fc epsilon RA receptor, of course. And the second is the autoantibody directed IgG against the Fc epsilon RA receptor. And the third is the autoantibody, directed against the IgG against the IgE receptor. So these are the ways it's going to happen. But the allergic way, of course, it is the antigen direct activation. However, it is going to be specific trigger induced and short lasting. So we're not going to focus this in chronic urticaria. And ligand activation can happen, as I told you, the anaphylatoxin, and then there are some other ways, so this is the mast cell driven diseases, mastocytosis and mast cell activation, where you're going to have activation as well. So we are going to predominantly going to focus on this. Okay? So morphological and histological evidence in chronic urticaria is that mast cell degranulation is evident, and there's basophil role, still is not clear to us. Is it high affinity receptor there, low affinity receptor there? And the mediator induced wheel and flare we saw. And the mediators in the biologic fluid we have discussed, and the mediator antagonist is going to suppress the urticaria. So if you look at the cutaneous allergen challenge model, in the skin blister model to ragweed allergen, so basically the point was in urticarial lesion to demonstrate what is playing a big role in terms of mediator. So as we look at pathogenesis now, it's very clear for us histamine plays big role, but there are so many mediators being released. In it, those days, the challenge was which is a dominant mediator. So if you look at this slide, it's clearly evident that the histamine is the dominant mediator, okay? So the histamine is the key mediator which is released from the mast cell, which is driving the disease process. And what about the role of the leukotrienes? The leukotrienes and prostaglandins have a role, because whenever a mast cell activation happens, immediately histamine comes, but in a delayed fashion, these will come as well. So, but however, they are more what we call as the long interval acting mediators. So they have a role, but it's more minor role. And this is a cold induced urticaria. Okay, sorry. Okay, yeah. So the differential cutaneous response to histamine in chronic urticaria, if you're going to see I'm sorry, my graphs didn't come there. If you're going to see the wheel flare response, so basically when this is a very interesting thing, when you induce histamine and when you look for wheel flare response, and then you're also going to give leukotriene D4 and induce response. The one which causes more faster response was the histamine there. Yeah, fortunately the gap my slide deck is kind of okay. So histopathology of chronic spontaneous urticaria is the dermal perivascular infiltrate of the lesion skin in CSF is showing. When you're taking a biopsy and seeing there, you're going to see all this. But predominantly what you're seeing is that there is a mast cell activation and mast cell mediator release, and there are rare eosinophils there, okay? One other aspect to it is whenever the biopsies are ordered and if they're showing a perivascular neutrophilic infiltrate, okay, and without vasculitis, it is sometimes seen in urticaria. So this phenotype, this histological endotype has been reported by the Johns Hopkins group in the allergy and immunology world. The two main groups who were looking in chronic spontaneous urticaria was Alan Kaplan's group and then Johns Hopkins group, and then our group in Cleveland as well. So the Johns Hopkins group did an interesting thing. Any urticaria patient they see, they used to do biopsies. And they studied these biopsies in over 10,000 patients. And what they found is typical, when you do the full thickness biopsy, of course, you're going to see the mast cell activation and the rare eosinophils there, and there is no extravasation of fluid, and the vessel is intact, there's no vasculitis. So this is what typically your histopathologist is going to call you and say, this is chronic spontaneous urticaria. But there are a subset of patients where he's going to report neutrophilic infiltrate as well. Why is it important? Yeah. Why is this important for us to understand is when that neutrophilic infiltrate is there, these patients require a different treatment. Usually they respond to dapsone. So it is important to pay attention when the urticaria is not getting better and you're doing the biopsy and such neutrophilic responses are there to have a look at that. Yeah. And this will be seen if you send 100 biopsies, at least 15 of them will come back with the neutrophilic infiltrate. If it's a very minor, amount per high-power field, it's negligible. But if it's significant amount of neutrophils per high-power field, then you need to pay attention and you need to consider a different treatment approach. And there is no vasculitis here. The skin is going to be clear after the lesion goes away. So the central role of mast cell, as they became more and more prominent, so of course, it's a mast cell-driven disease. There are so many factors, but we're going to focus on the mast cell activation at the FcεRA level in the chronic urticaria, and the mediators are eventually going to cause the beam flare response. Okay. In terms of activation of mast cell in the acute urticaria, it's the allergens. In the chronic urticaria, it's the autoallergens. And in the chronic urticaria, of course, I'm going to go over in the next few slides about the autoantibodies. And the mediators release, we are going to cause the blood vessel endothelial factors releasing, and the mediator-induced flare and other mediators and neuromediators coming, causing the eventual beam flare response. So this completes the cycle of chronic spontaneous urticaria in terms of the pathogenicity. You have mast cell activation, and you have histamine release, and that's causing the extravasation, and that's causing the wheal. And you have other mediators as well, which are coming, which are going to play a role. And the neuromediators, which are going to cause the flare response, and the other mediators, which are going to play a role from the skin itself, from the mast cell, from the T cell, and from the eosinophil, are going to play a role in the itching. Yeah. So this completes the pathogenesis of the chronic spontaneous urticaria. Are there intrinsic difference in mast cells? Of course, we have seen like there is heterogeneity in terms of the mast cell FcεRA receptor activation. So there will be some patients who have milder urticaria. There will be some patients who have chronic spontaneous urticaria for a long period of time. So there is, again, the skin sample mediated studies done by Johns Hopkins group has demonstrated that. Okay. Increased histamine release in spontaneous urticaria. Again, this is one of the studies which showed that compared to normal patients, histamine. So our whole objective is there are so many things which are activating mast cell, and there's so many things coming, which is the dominant mediator and what to target on the mast cell. So, these studies have confirmed that it is the histamine which plays the predominant role, and this histamine is coming from the mast cell. Yeah. So chronic autoimmune and chronic spontaneous urticaria, these days it has become one entity. Thanks to Charité group. Now the third player came, later on. Charité group on the last 8 years have been very active. And then in the chronic urticaria, a lot of their research at the basic and translational level has kind of narrowed the gap between autoimmune and spontaneous urticaria. Now it's all under one entity. In the chronic spontaneous urticaria, yes, you're going to have autoimmune, long-lasting late phase response, and autoantibodies are going to be very high. And the thyroid autoantibodies, we call it as a surrogate marker, and we have specific IgG against IgE, and we have IgG against FcεRA. So, and the activation of them is releasing histamine and other things, and this has been confirmed both in vivo and in vitro studies. Yeah. So, if you want to look more in depth, on some of the basic aspects, basopenia can be there, associated HLA-DR is there, and hyper or hypothyroidism, anti-thyroid autoantibodies are found at much higher level, and treatment of thyroid disease is not the cure. Autoantibody association, a third of urticaria, there's a 1/3 rule, a third of urticaria patients will have autoantibodies. In the interest of time, I'll move fast. Autoantibodies associated with urticaria, we saw IgG against IgE, and then IgG against FcεRA. Autologous serum skin testing, and of course, you take the serum of the patient and you inject because there are autoantibodies, you're going to get a positive response. Autoimmune, again, autologous serum skin testing, and based on that, you find IgG against the IgE. Functional autoantibodies, the two main ones which I mentioned, this is the IgG against the IgE, and this is RNA. Okay, this is type 2A and type 2B. Yeah. Pathophysiology, eventually I'll conclude that it's the mast cell and basophil in the superficial layers of the skin activation and activated mast cell basophil complex. Predominantly, the mast cell will release mediators including histamine and involve superficial dermis and increased vascular permeability, leading to dermal edema and vasodilation, and perivascular infiltration of lymphocytes with rare eosinophils is what you're going to see in the biopsy, and they may respond to antihistamine, some may not, may require other therapies. And if you look at the ligand response, again, thanks to Sherife, so in the lab, they found these many activators can activate the ligand and activate the mast cell receptors, okay? Yeah. And these many mediators can be predominantly displayed, the activation, pruritus, vasodilation, immune response, recruitment leading to the infiltrate. And of course, I think we covered all this, yeah. Again, the Galen statement, so it is the mast cell activation causing the histamine release. IgA is playing a key role on the surface of the mast cell, not in the serum. So there's no role for measuring serum IgA in terms of identifying chronic spontaneous urticaria and having specific. So there's a strong rationale for targeting the IgE on the Fc epsilon RA receptor for elevating the treatment with chronic spontaneous urticaria. And this, I think we'll go over in the next slides. Yeah. This is IgG against IgE. This is IgG against Fc epsilon RI. And this is the antigen binding. Yep. Yeah. And this is what I mentioned so far. Okay. This is in the pathogenesis of the autoantibodies and the various phenotypes which I'll go over in the next presentation. Thank you.